Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Real Estate Therapy, where you might hear something that's therapeutic for you or not. But I have with me today somebody who's an exceptional human being, a real pro agent, long time in the business, and who I can't wait to have a conversation with and get to know better. Val Vandervort. And Val, maybe you can introduce yourself to our people who are watching or listening.
Hi, I'm Val Vandervort. My company is called Veritas Homes, and we're based out of San Carlos. Have a cute little office right across from Pete's Coffee. So, a fun location in the heart of San Carlos in the mid peninsula area of San Francisco. And I'm so excited to be on this with you. I've respected you from afar for a very long time, so I'm very touched that you reached out to me to do this program with you. So, thank you.
Well, thank you. And I feel the same way. Like we've been circling each other, but we work in different markets. And
Yes.
so it's not like we bump into each other on brokers tour every other week.
No.
And and San Carlos is so near and yet so far. Uh, I have been to San Carlos, and there's much to recommend it. For people who don't know the Bay Area, maybe what is it about San Carlos that recommends it?
Yeah. So I guess like a lot of people, right? You just somehow land in a place, and maybe that wasn't the ultimate plan. I grew up in Washington State, and I was a high school science teacher up there that was underpaid, and had a fight break out in my classroom, and I was like, "This is just more than I want to deal with," and so contemplated the world of biotech. And then, of course, this is a wonderful area for that. So came down here and ended up in a biotech company in Palo Alto. And my husband, who I met once I moved down here, he and I started searching for a home. This was before I was a licensed real estate agent, and kind of had some boundaries for what cities would work, like most buyers do, and really didn't know much about San Carlos, and landed in San Carlos, and it has been the perfect fit. It's um, a beautiful community. I would say the people are very professional, very well educated, but I also think very down to earth is one of the pieces that I love about San Carlos and kind of our sister city, Belmont. That it's just people are well grounded individuals here by and large, and that really resonates with me because that's how I grew up and how I continue to live.
Right. So, so unlike the classroom or the lab at the school, you probably haven't had a lot of fights breaking out at open houses.
No, never fights in an open house. But we do sometimes navigate divorces, and that is an interesting process that we have to work through with people. And um, I I really feel I say a lot of the time that one of the things I loved about teaching was that you had a variety of personalities in front of you throughout the day. And this, I always say management of personalities, and that may sound controlling. I don't mean it that way, but there's a big similarity between teaching and real estate in that you have a variety of personalities that you're dealing with every day, and kind of just helping people process what they're going through and helping them make good decisions as they go.
Yes, and I've talked to. I mean, I know many people, and for this show, I've talked to several people who their former career was as a teacher, and there seems to be kind of a natural segue there.
I
Um,
definitely agree.
and because I mean, my own guess is it's something to do with. And now, I've never been a teacher, but my parents were educators, so
Okay.
let's I'll pretend that I am. Um, the big part of real estate is education, educating people about what the market has to offer, how the process works. But then there's the whole part of this sort of holding space, making it safe, understanding the personalities, trying to figure out how to um, bring people together and how to love people even in the midst of conflict. Or,
Mhm.
it's hard to love teenagers sometimes, right? And I'm not saying that my clients act like teenagers all the time, but they do, sometimes. But it's a very human business.
Yeah.
Um,
Is it ever?
and I go
we're
ahead.
helping people through such a stressful time, and so you get a window into how people deal with stress when they're going through, one of life's most stressful processes. So
Yeah.
we get a lot of insight into people through the process.
Right. And I think also insight into my own psyche, and I'm
Mm,
always learning something from people about maybe how to handle a situation. When I see someone under pressure handling something with grace, yeah,
yes.
I pay attention.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
I also try to let them know that I notice that.
Oh,
Um,
that's a great point. I'm not sure that I have expressed that explicitly to someone, but I'm taking that into my brain and will um, incorporate that when I'm dealing with people because we do, right. We see a variety of it, and you so appreciate it when somebody does deal with that stress gracefully.
yes. And now to put a little bit of a twist on that, um, have you noticed? I mean, here's something that I think I observe is that um, a big part of what we do is approve, we witness and we approve our clients. I'm not saying that they're in a like childlike state or anything, but it's one of those arenas in life where you have somebody besides a real licensed psychotherapist who probably isn't going to give you this, but you have somebody who says, "Hey, isn't it cool how you decorated the living room? And what a great choice you made to choose this house over that house. And wow, you've done such great improve." Like you have this objective person who comes into your space and says, "I love what you did with the place. Aren't you
Hmm.
clever?" Or "You're right to be thinking about this." It's a kind of like a life coach in a different guys. I know I looked on your website, your beautiful website, by the
Oh,
way,
thank you.
and I was reading testimonials and I kept seeing again and again I think the word human touch, that you have a human touch. Unlike, I guess, some realtors who are, I don't know, are they robotic? Are they, what is it? But
Yeah.
that human seems to be reserved for only a few very special um, realtors. And you're somebody who everybody regards as a human with
Yeah.
with a human touch. Um,
Yeah. I think I have I don't know who to thank for it. The only people I can think of course, are my parents, but someone who keeps their cool when things are crazy, right? We can't fall apart. So you keep your cool, and I think just a deep caring about people, and even some that maybe we wouldn't call friends after a real estate transaction, but I have a lot of empathy for what they're going through and feel like it's my responsibility to get them through this with a wonderful outcome for themselves, and to get all of us through it gracefully.
yes, yes, and sometimes that can be challenging to do. Just it just is. There's no way around it because we can't control everything, um,
Hmm.
and that requires, in my experience, a lot of flexibility and willingness to adapt and shift and respond. Another thing I noticed in your testimonials was something like, she did a great job for us even while she was on vacation.
Mm,
And like, I know that one way too well. The even
yeah.
while she was on vacation, um, you're there for people.
Yeah. Yes, 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 yes. Try and find some time where, there is a vacation. I was just thinking about it this morning. I'm like, this summer, we have a vacation planned. And, I do hope to disconnect for that week long period because we do, we need our time to recover and
We
to
do.
just to let it go.
Right.
I had high hopes of a sabbatical. I was like, Genentech does a sabbatical. Facebook at the time, now Meta, does a sabbatical. I'm
Mhm.
like, I've got my own company. I could like create a sabbatical. And so sabbatical was going to be June, July of 2020. And then that got, put on hold. And then, right, we were in just this major chaos as the real estate industry was so busy immediately after the pandemic. So I didn't get my sabbatical, but maybe I'll retire one day and then I guess I'll have, a really long sabbatical.
Oh, that's true. I mean, I was kind of when the pandemic showed up, I was kind of secretly thinking, wow, I'm being forced to stay in my home. I can't show any houses.
Yeah.
And I thought this could be really bad for my business, right? But I thought, you know what? It's okay. We're all in the same boat. I'll just weather this storm. And I had a house that came on the market the week that they shut San Francisco down. And by golly, we sold it anyway. And, um, and then it just took off from there. There was
Yeah.
no time to sit by the fire and read a book, no time to practice the piano again. What would you
Yep.
do if you had a sabbatical?
Well, the plan was for that at that time was that we were gonna. I have three children who are teenagers. They were earlier teenagers then, and the plan was to go hit the national parks. We are going to do a road trip, a 4-week road trip through. And I actually have a folder on my computer, of the national park trip that never was. So,
Mhm.
yeah. So that was what my sabbatical was going to be.
Right. But it's hard to take a sabbatical in the real estate business, period. But you like me, I think is the way you say it. You like me, we are women who own a business
Hmm.
and run a business.
Hmm.
I mean, we're running a whole company, and somebody has to respond. There's somebody who's ultimately responsible. When you were a new agent, did you ever think you would own your own agency? And like,
No, I didn't. And I'm really grateful um, for how it all came about. And, that we do sit in this world where we have someone who does oversee our brokerage operations. That was never something that I wanted to have to deal with because that isn't the fun and satisfaction of helping clients. If
right,
I have to retain an attorney to help me with a disclosure, that's to me not the joy of real estate. So I didn't. That wasn't necessarily a goal of mine. And then just this opportunity kind of came together, and it was just absolutely perfect for me. So
right.
I've loved every minute since starting Veritas Homes and having back end support.
Yes, and that's what we're talking about for people who don't know is we both our companies are under the, let's call it, the umbrella of a really successful and innovative real estate brokerage slash tech company that allows innovative, successful, hardworking agents like us to become the owners of their own agencies because we get a lot of back end support, which frees us to serve our clients.
Mhm, mhm. That's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not about the umbrella brokerage. In fact, it's not really about us. It is about our clients. It is.
Yes, because it frees the platform that we're on frees us up to help and interact with our clients more, not less.
Like one of the features that that our our brokerage offers is if we have a question, almost 24/7 we can go on a little chat button and ask the question. And I love that feature, and at the same time I sort of don't want to have that kind of access, because that means then maybe I have to be accessible. And
Mm,
it's that seamlessness, that porousness between, which is something I want to ask you about. There's this blend, like there's not work and then free time, like you're yearning for the
yeah.
sabbatical. It's very hard to stake it out. Like it's so easy in the middle of, say, having friends over for dinner to get a text from a teammate saying, "Hey, quick question. Do I need to check this box on such and such?" Right?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and it's easier than to say, "I don't have time to talk to you. You need to do blah blah blah." To just answer the question.
Hmm.
A
Yep.
lot of, but it's like a lot of little paper cuts after a while, you know.
Yeah. It's very true. Yeah. It is a very demanding profession. Um, right. And I think you and I take it really seriously that this is a massive transaction that we are helping our clients through, or maybe our team members to get through, and you can't leave people high and dry. So I I have said for many years it has all of the flexibility in the world and none of the flexibility in the world.
Right. Yeah.
Right? That there are times when you just absolutely can't let someone down, and you need to drop everything and go for it. And then there are times when it's a random middle of the week, and I've been known to be like, there's no one needs help that day and there's fresh snow, I'm going skiing.
Yeah, like, yeah,
Not
what's going
often, but
on?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's a very weird life.
Yeah. I remember when I was, my children are older than yours, and I've been an agent for 35 years now. But when my second son was born, I wrote an offer on day one, like the day after he was born.
Oh
I
gosh.
wrote an offer because it was just easier than
Yeah.
to have somebody else do it. And it was kind of like I was off on the moon or something. I was on the
Hmm.
moon anyway because I
Yep.
had a new baby. May as well throw an offer into the mix, you know.
Hmm.
And then once I
Hmm.
had that done, it got accepted. I was able to have somebody else just take it and,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
run with it. But I felt, we have those moments. It's hard enough to be a working mother anyway. And then you have those moments where your child is saying, "Well, wait, what about me? What about the national parks trip?"
Hmm.
Like, "No, no,
Hmm.
can't do it." Um, how do you keep some equilibrium and keep everybody happy at
Yeah.
home?
Um, so one of the ways that I did when they were really young, and I love this, was that I did co-op preschool with my kids.
Mhm.
So there was a time when, I had to put my cell phone away. I was working at the preschool, and, I got time with my children in a really cool setting, and made some amazing connections through that. And in the early years of my business, that was, definitely longer hours, harder work at, trying to figure it all out and keep all the plates spinning. But I would really try and take, maybe Thursday, Friday off, because I knew I was working Saturday, Sunday. Of course, you'd have to field maybe something here or there, but the intention was to keep some time separate. And when I'm in the car with my kids, I by and large, tried not to like field phone calls at that time and return phone calls later. So I've just, I don't know, pieces here and there that I've tried to do to keep it a little bit separate,
Yeah.
and always make sure that my children didn't feel like they were less than my business was. That
Yeah. Yeah.
making sure that they knew that they had my attention and were a priority to me.
Yeah. When my kids were little, my ex-husband, he and I worked together, so we were both realtors, and his joke was that we were trying to keep it a secret from our kids.
A brilliant way to put it, to keep it a secret from them.
Yeah. Um, well, he thinks he's brilliant. He is very funny, I will say that, and he's a
Okay.
good friend. Um, in fact, I would just remembered this one thing that both kids used to say. They couldn't help but overhear some stuff. And there's a highly successful agent in San Francisco. She and her team, they're probably, depending on the year, they are the number one team in San Francisco. Um, and her name is Nina Hatvani. Um, and so I did several transactions with Nina, and I remember there was one point where the kids would go, "It's Nina Hatvani." Nina Hatvani, and it was just if Nina, if you're listening to this or you're watching this, please forgive me, and I hope you aren't offended by that. But it was
High praise to her for a good name that the
yeah,
kids appreciated.
the kids loved it. I think she must have called on the landline or something, and
Okay.
one of them answered, and um, but
Oh, the landline.
yes, the landline.
Yeah. And so
There
you would
was
have people ring your home if need be. You gave
oh
them home phone numbers.
for sure.
Okay.
And they had my home fax number too, Val.
Okay. So you had a work fax and a home fax.
Oh, you betcha. You
Okay.
betcha.
I guess, right? Yeah, you couldn't be disconnected like that in the evening hours.
No, home
Yeah.
fax, home office, home landline. Those were the days. I mean, I remember writing an offer on the hood of a car, right? Like out, a place where there was a lot of interest and an offer had to be put together right away. Um,
You had the file box in the car with the documents that you needed. When I got into
oh,
the business in 2004, I had the little, you know, file box that had my blank documents in it. So, but there shortly after, it was like Mongo fax and things were getting a little easier.
Mongo fax. I
Yeah,
forgot about that. I
yeah,
forgot
yeah.
about
Right.
that. It wasn't that
We
didn't last that long,
No,
right?
nope. Yeah, I think we went straight to being able to just scan documents and attach them to emails. But that was that time when you scanned it to the fax machine, you used the fax machine to scan it, and then it sent it to your email.
Right.
And yeah, so yeah, that was a funny little time in transition in tech, I guess.
Yeah. And with I mean, real estate, I don't know if a lot of people are really aware of this, but it's one of the businesses where you wouldn't necessarily think it, but we have to be so on top of tech innovations.
Hmm.
It's just going on all the time.
Hmm.
So, like an old person like me, I'm I wouldn't pass for an IT expert, but I know much more than the average bear, and certainly a lot more than a lot of people my age.
Hmm. Hmm.
In fact, I was talking to somebody the other day who'd never been on Zoom. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
really? How have you escaped that?
Yeah, yeah. I love using Zoom for doing disclosures, and they share their screen with me, and I help walk them through it. And by and large, like some clientele are not the youngest people, but they get through that, and it just makes it so smooth as far as a clean document that you can do. So
Right.
um, it's
Well,
it's been fun to see people roll with the technology
well, in the
that
old
we've
days, I
got.
used to stand over people while they filled out the forms and like slap them with a ruler. What's the latest thing that you've encountered where, well, it's always interesting, when somebody will say, I'm trying to think of an example. We did that we did this 4 years ago,
Hmm.
and now it's it's back. Um, it seems to be a real problem, like with raccoons,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes. Rats,
Do you
sewer lines.
Yeah, sewer
Yeah,
lines. Sewer
yeah.
lines are fun. Um, let's talk about the ye old sewer line. And ye old sewer line might really be appropriate, at least in San Francisco, where you have these houses that were built in the 1800s and they
Hmm.
have their original clay pipe sewer lines in them.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people wouldn't think about this, but in these urban areas like San Francisco and San Carlos, um, wildlife is a big deal. We have we have you'd think that in San Francisco you wouldn't have to think about that. But of course, what do they say? You're never more than 6 feet away from a rat. Is that the expression? Um,
That seems you could believe it.
yeah. And, in the city, the whole raccoon presence is just off the charts. I mean, I find it amusing and frightening at the same time. Like there's
Hmm.
gangs of marauding raccoons roaming the streets of San Francisco at night, in search
Yeah.
of food. Um, what what do you all experience there? I mean, I know this is a little bit off
Well, it's
topic.
I mean, so I live in the San Carlos Hills and sell a lot of homes up here, and we have rattlesnakes, we have mountain lions that show up on video cameras. So um, it's always kind of like nail biting to disclose these things, but the other piece is people need to know that this is um, it is possible that these things could come across your driveway. Um, it's part of what makes our area beautiful, but it is something that you've got to be prepared for. And that there are some buyers who are just like they can't handle, or they can't handle that idea of like,
Right.
you're telling me I'm gonna have a rattlesnake in my backyard or in my driveway.
Right. But I don't know. I mean, I truly don't know anywhere you can go and really avoid it altogether. And that's a good thing.
Yep.
Um, I mean, the Bay Area has so much to recommend it in that we have such a great touch with nature. You don't ever have to go, like when I'm freezing to death in San Francisco because the fog has rolled in.
Hmm.
And again, if you aren't familiar with San Francisco and the Bay Area, you may not know this, but it can be the middle of July and it's 50 degrees in the city.
Hmm.
And I have a down jacket in the trunk of my car for that reason, because you it can change and there's all these microclimates. But anyway, freezing your butt off in the city, you only have to travel a few miles south or a few miles north or a few miles east, and all of a sudden it's full on summer. It's like,
Yeah.
let's have a barbecue.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I was just had a good friend in town, and she was here on Saturday, which was just such a brilliant, beautiful day. And I was like, we can get one of the things I love about this area is that we can get that 70, 72-degree day any month of the year. But the other piece is that I have had a lot of very cold 4th of Julys, wind blowing like crazy. When I first moved into my house, I actually lit my deck on fire. I bought a fixer, and the deck was very frayed. The wood was very frayed, and we had a charcoal grill. And our first 4th of July at our house, we light up a barbecue, and the next thing we know, the deck is on fire because the wind is so strong it's blown some embers onto the deck. So
Oh, wow, wow,
um,
wow,
yeah, so
wow.
we get a great variety of weather all year round,
Yeah.
and it's awesome.
Well, here we are talking about the weather.
It's
You
I think
know,
a favorite topic of mine.
I love the weather. I mean, it's fascinating.
Yeah,
And again, where we are with the ocean so near and the bay and the hills, it's it's it can be a little bit hard to predict exactly what's going to happen next. Like,
yeah.
um, it's very seldom super hot in San Francisco, and I remember when I first got hip to this idea, we had I hadn't lived in the city long, and we had like 2 days where the temperature got up to like 90 or in the high 80s. It was horrible, and of course, nobody has air conditioning, and and I thought, okay, that's it. I'm going to have to go buy a fan. And I went to the hardware store, Frederickson's hardware store on Fillmore, and I remember the sensation of going in to get my fan, and I walked out of the hardware store, and this cool breeze was starting to blow because the the fog had just rolled in, and I never even took it out of the box for like another 6 months.
Yeah,
By the time I got home, it was all socked in, and
yeah. And I was thinking about it, like how many areas can you say where a weather element has a nickname? Because we have Karl the Fog, which
right.
here you went into, right? It is such a player in our area. I've not known of another area where there's a weather element that has its own name.
Yeah,
Have you?
no, no,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
beloved mascot, Carl.
Yes, yes. And that's what we like. Yeah, those summer days, right, where it's been maybe 5, 6, 7 days of hot temperatures, and then suddenly you see Carl come over the hill, and you're like, yes,
Yes,
relief, relief.
Carl with a K, right?
Yes.
Carl
Yep.
with a K.
Yep. With the
Um,
K.
so, what do you find? I wanted to talk a little bit about women in real estate, and I'm not quite sure exactly what I'm seeking, but I one thing I like about our work is that it is about home, and home being the sort of traditional fallback place, the realm of women,
Hmm.
um, is home, and yet we are in the business of selling, helping people sell and buy these homes, but it's also combined with um, this aspect of being a caring caregiver. Uh, I find that my mom tendencies
Hmm.
definitely come up a lot,
Hmm.
maybe more
Hmm.
than they should. But I'm also a business person
Hmm.
at the same time.
Hmm. Have you seen the John? It's John Mulaney, right? I think is his name, the comedian.
John
And
Mulvaney, right?
there we go. Thank you. And it's a bit where he is playing the part of like a mom, like real estate agent, and just the whole bit is hysterical. Please, you got to find it.
Okay.
It is. He just nails it as far as kind of that. I'm going to take care of you, children, as we get through this process. But it definitely has a bit of a mothering feel to it, right? I think it's just again like what I said before is that you want the very best outcome for your clients, and so it's it's shepherding them through the transaction, and that feels very mom like with my children as far as shepherding them through life. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
I think women are well, really so well suited for the business. And I've had people say to me, I'm only hiring a woman because your attention, I really believe your attention to detail will be better and serve me well. But yeah, I think we probably have both had times too where um, that maybe it would have been easier to have run the business as a man.
I definitely want to get a link to that John Mulvaney piece because I do remember seeing it, and I'll put that in the show notes so
I
that
think that
people
would
can
would
appreciate
be
it.
awesome.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely get very I mean, if somebody, an agent, or if somebody says something not kind about my clients, I get kind of upset, you know.
Hmm.
And and I certainly um I'm kind of in love with them all the time. Just like
Hmm.
my kids can't do anything wrong.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
My clients can't do anything wrong.
Hmm.
I, you know, of
Yeah.
course they want the washer and dryer, and they
Yeah.
deserve it.
Yeah. 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 Can you blame them for asking? No.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
And
right? Like that, just huge dedication to making sure that you have the right outcome for your
right.
clients. Yeah.
And on either side of the equation, because we both represent both sellers and buyers, um, that's the very definition of fiduciary. We want the very
Yes.
best for our clients. And we're trying to kind of walk, talk, and think as if we were them,
Hmm.
right? And so, uh, no wonder empathy and the ability to think outside ourselves and um, be tolerant and open to other points of view. I mean, before I was an agent, I didn't have any um, or very few skills in that department, but I learned
Hmm.
over time. I think one thing that I'm always keep remembering is that thing about, how you don't know what's going on inside someone. So if somebody's acting like a jerk, um, and I might hear, like my client might say, why is that seller being so horrible? Well, it's not personal, probably. And it probably doesn't even have that much to do with the transaction.
Hmm.
They're just having a hard day, and
Yeah.
we need to be patient and try to
Yeah.
figure out how to how to keep this going.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, right, like that whole idea of people just need to be heard, like the number of times where it's just like hearing the frustrations of a client and not really, you know, per se saying, oh, we're going to do this, but just letting them process it and to be heard is everything for humans, right?
Yes.
To be able to get it off their chest.
And I heard that just this week, I was listening to a podcast. I think it may have been This Jungian Life, and they were talking about. Um, I think this is something that teachers would do, where if a student is distressed or upset or going through something difficult, the question would be, do you need to be heard? Do you need to be heard, hugged, or helped?
Mm, mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that's, for humans, a lot of us just need to be heard, and
Yeah.
that's how we respond. They need to be hugged sometimes, meaning, I'm here for you. I get it. I want to do everything I can for you. Just know that I'm here for you. And then helped is, okay, I know another lender you can talk to who has a 7-year arm, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that we need to offer those options. That be a good one to add into. I'm not a believer in dialogues per se, but it's something that we could say to our clients.
Yeah, definitely. Well, um, I I think we're getting here to the end, and I would love to talk more, but we can come back another time,
Okay.
maybe with a deeper dive into some aspect of what we do or what we've seen. But I always like to ask people for a real estate story,
Okay.
which doesn't have to be on topic, right? Doesn't have to be about the human side of real estate, though inevitably they tend to be. But what's yours, Val?
So it ties in well to the topics that we've been discussing today. So my I got into the business in 2004, and in 2005, about 15 months later, I had a baby boy. And then, not quite 2.5 years later, I had boy girl twins. So I had
Oh,
three children under 3 years of age, and and was working very hard in the world of real estate. And it was kind of right around that time that reality shows were about real estate were becoming very popular. And so I would be asked, by clients, oh, do you watch, XYZ show on HGTV? And I'm I'm getting like 4 or 5 hours of sleep. Like there's no spare
yeah,
time for any of
right.
that. But I knew that they those reality shows were showing, this glamorous lifestyle, martini lunches in Miami, and just, such a glamorous life, which they still show to today. And all that stuff kind of makes me cringe because the reality of our life, right, is that it's, you know, a little bit crazy and unpredictable and so often not glamorous. Like you might be picking up dog poop right out of a yard before an open house.
Right. Picking up
But
dog poop and then writing an offer for $3 million, right? Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. You
Exactly.
got to be willing to do everything. So it was a very busy market at that time. And I had buyers who were in a multiple offer situation. So everyone had to have their offer back by like 7 o'clock, and it was 7 p.m., and it was the time of fax machines. And in the chaos of life, my fax machine, I guess, never got set up on a desk. It was set up on the floor next to my desk. And I had one of my little twins in my arm who must have been like 6 months old. And when you're in a multiple counter situation, it's very stressful, right? Because like you all have to kind of arrive right at whatever that deadline time is. And so I have the fax machine on the floor. I have a kid in my hand, and I go to feed the document into the fax machine, just at like say 6:59 p.m. And it's doing the dial tone and dee, and
Right.
then one of the kids, whoever I had in my arms, kicked the phone off the cradle of the fax machine, and it killed the fax, and I had to like pick it all back up. And I just was like, there really needs to be a reality show about, working moms in real estate, because it is not glamorous. It is incredibly crazy. And that would be, I think, a fun and entertaining view, look into what our lives are like, and is much more real than what they're showing in all those shows. So that was one of my
Here,
high points and fun, crazy of real estate.
here, here. I love
Yeah.
that story. And, you know, I've been there. I
Yeah.
didn't have
Yeah.
twins, but, I thought you were going to say they vomited. That would be, I've
That
had
would have been
that.
better if the fax had gone through and they had vomited.
I know. I
Having
mean,
it hung up on, that was the tough part.
yeah, I mean, multiple offers, you have to what I found is that's a moment when we have to get really clear and focused
Hmm.
because sometimes you're, as a seller's agent, you're communicating with multiple buyers. And heaven forbid you should send the wrong counteroffer to the wrong buyer,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, or get them mixed up, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Or, and then as a buyer, you have to figure out, when I'm representing a buyer, okay, I do this with every contract. Is the price right? Am I off
Yes.
by $1,000,000? I've
Yeah.
done that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
I've put a 2 on the front instead of
Mhm.
a 1,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Is the price right? Did I check accepts subject to a counteroffer instead of just accepts? I mean, oh,
Yeah.
it's very, and I've been doing this forever, and I still get so nervous at
Mhm.
those
Mhm.
moments. And
Yeah.
then add in a twin, a 6-month-old twin,
Yep.
right?
Screaming kid. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we did it just last night. One of my teammates and I wrote an offer on something, and we had to pull it together on Sunday night, right after open houses. Okay, it's Sunday night. It's time to go to work.
Mhm.
Pulled this offer together, and she she was finalizing it, and she forgot to include an expiration date,
Mm.
and the offer's not even valid without that. So
Mhm.
I had to go back, redo it, right? And um, because she was in the middle of having friends over for dinner,
Mhm.
I was
Of
too,
course. Yep.
right?
Yep.
And it took two of us.
Yeah. And that's all the flexibility in the world and none of the flexibility in the world. That's
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 exactly
that
right.
example. Yeah. Yep.
That's a great example, and I thank you for sharing that with me because I hadn't
Yeah.
heard that before. Um, well, Val, thank you so much. I hope we can do this again. And for our audience, can you tell people where to reach you?
Yeah, so probably through my website is easiest. So it's veritashomes.com.
Okay,
Yeah.
veritashomes.com. I'll also put it in the show notes.
Okay.
And I know that anybody who needs help in the San Carlos, Belmont area and beyond would be so lucky to find you.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
um,
I'm always happy to find new people to help. So
all right.
thank you.
Thank you, Val. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, Cynthia.
Bye.